You checked your bank account this morning. The number was smaller than you expected. Again, and somewhere in the back of your mind, a familiar feeling crept in. Not panic, not anger. Just a quiet, heavy exhaustion. Like no matter what you do, the money never stays. Here is what nobody tells you. That feeling is not a personal failure. It is not laziness. It is not a lack of discipline. That feeling is ancient. It is hardwired into you by 300,000 years of human evolution. And until you understand where it comes from, you will keep fighting it the wrong way. Because your brain was not built for the world you are living in. It was built for a world that no longer exists. And the gap between those two worlds is costing you everything. Let's go back. Not a few decades, not a few centuries, all the way back to the beginning. For the vast majority of human history, your ancestors lived in small nomadic groups of 20 to 50 people. They did not farm. They did not store food in warehouses. They did not have bank accounts or retirement funds or mortgages. They hunted, they gathered, they moved, and every single day, they consumed almost everything they found. This was not reckless behavior. This was survival strategy. Hoarding food in a world without refrigeration was pointless. Carrying excess possessions while moving across landscapes was deadly. Sharing everything within the group was the single most effective way to stay alive. The person who kept resources to themselves in that environment did not thrive. They died alone. Anthropologist Christopher Bohm spent decades studying hunter-gatherer societies around the world. He documented something remarkable. In nearly every group he observed, there was a powerful social mechanism that punished accumulation. If one person hoarded resources, the group would shame them, mock them, sometimes exile them. Bohm called this the leveling mechanism. It was not accidental. It was enforced. The group actively destroyed any attempt by one individual to build up more than everyone else. Think about what that means for you today. Your brain spent 300,000 years being rewarded for spending everything and punished for saving. That programming does not disappear because a bank invented compound interest. It sits inside you right now, quietly working against every financial goal you have ever set. When you get paid and feel an almost magnetic pull to spend it, that is not weakness. That is your ancient brain doing exactly what kept your ancestors alive. But here is where it gets darker. The modern financial system did not accidentally stumble into a world where most people stay broke. It was built with a precise understanding of your evolutionary weaknesses. And it has been engineered, deliberately and methodically, to exploit every single one of them. In 1957, economist James Dusenberry introduced what he called the relative income hypothesis. He discovered that humans do not evaluate their financial situation in absolute terms. They evaluate it relative to the people around them. Your ancestors did not care about abstract numbers. They cared about their position within the group. Am I keeping up? Am I falling behind? Am I being left out? That instinct is still running inside you. Every time you see a neighbor with a new car, every time a colleague mentions their vacation, every time a stranger on social media displays a lifestyle that signals higher status, your ancient brain does not see an advertisement. It sees a threat to your place in the group. And it responds with the same urgency it would have felt on the savannah. Buy something. Signal back. Prove you belong. This is not vanity. This is survival instinct firing in an environment it was never designed for. The advertising industry understood this long before most people did. In the 1920s, Edward Bernays, the nephew of Sigmund Freud, began applying his uncle's theories of the unconscious mind to marketing. He realized that people do not buy products because they need them. They buy products because products carry social meaning. They buy because of fear. The fear of being left behind. The fear of being seen as less. The fear that the group will reject them. Bernays did not sell cigarettes to women as a nicotine product. He sold them as torches of freedom. He did not sell soap as a cleaning agent. He sold it as the path to social acceptance. He rewired the connection between consumption and identity so completely that we are still living inside his experiment today. Every time you feel like a purchase will make you feel better about yourself, you are experiencing the direct legacy of Edward Bernays. But there is a third layer to this. And it is the one that most people never reach. In the 1970s, psychologists Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky conducted a series of experiments that would eventually win Kahneman a Nobel Prize. They discovered something they called loss aversion. The finding was simple and devastating. For the human brain, losing something feels approximately twice as painful as gaining the same thing feels good. Losing $20 hurts roughly twice as much as finding $20 feels good. This is not logical. Mathematically, they are identical. But your brain does not operate on logic. It operates on survival. In a world where losing your food meant death, the pain of loss needed to be stronger than the pleasure of gain. That asymmetry kept your ancestors alive. But in a modern financial world, it destroys wealth systematically. Loss aversion is why people refuse to sell a failing stock because admitting the loss feels unbearable. It is why people stay in financial situations they know are wrong because the fear of losing what they have outweighs the hope of gaining something better. It is why predatory lenders frame loans as opportunities you will miss rather than debts you will carry. They know your brain responds more powerfully to the threat of loss than to the promise of gain. Every financial trap ever designed for ordinary people has loss aversion built into its architecture. Limited time offers. Final clearance. Only 3 left. These phrases are not marketing creativity. They are precision weapons aimed directly at a neurological vulnerability that is 300,000 years old. So what did ancient humans actually know about wealth that we have forgotten? They knew that wealth was not a number. It was not stored value in a vault or a balance on a screen. Wealth, in the truest evolutionary sense of the word, was relationships. It was reciprocal obligation. It was the knowledge that if you fell, the people around you would catch you, and that when they fell, you would catch them. The most financially secure individual in a hunter-gatherer group was not the one who had accumulated the most. It was the one who had given the most away. Because in a world where tomorrow was uncertain, the only real asset was the goodwill of the people around you. Generosity was not charity. It was the most sophisticated wealth-building strategy available. Anthropologist Marshall Sullins studied this dynamic extensively. He called hunter-gatherers the original affluent society. Not because they had abundance in the material sense, but because their needs were calibrated to what was actually available. They did not define themselves by accumulation. They defined themselves by sufficiency. By enough. The concept of enough is nearly extinct in the modern world. The financial industry has a structural interest in ensuring that you never feel like you have enough. Because the moment you feel like you have enough, you stop consuming. And the entire machine depends on you never stopping. This is not a conspiracy theory. It is the operating logic of a system built on perpetual growth in a world of finite resources, sold to brains that were never designed to resist it. Here is what you can actually do with this knowledge. The first step is recognition. When you feel the pull to spend money you had not planned to spend, pause for 3 seconds. Not to judge yourself. Just to name what is happening. Your ancient brain is responding to a stimulus the way it was wired to respond. That recognition alone creates a small gap between the instinct and the action. And that gap is where financial change actually lives. The second step is redefining what your brain counts as wealth. Your brain is looking for signals of security and belonging. Those signals do not have to come from consumption. Research by psychologist Elizabeth Dunn at the University of British Columbia found that spending money on experiences and on other people generates significantly more lasting well-being than spending on material objects. Not because experiences are morally superior, but because they activate the same ancient circuits that were designed to register social connection as safety. You can give your ancient brain what it is actually looking for without feeding the machine that was built to extract it from you. The third step is the most counterintuitive one. Build the thing your ancestors actually built. Not a portfolio. Not a savings account. A network of genuine reciprocal relationships. People you help without keeping score. People who help you the same way. Research by social scientist Nicholas Christakis at Harvard has shown that your financial outcomes are more heavily influenced by the 3 degrees of social connection around you than by almost any individual financial decision you make. Wealth, in the oldest sense of the word, was never about what you had. It was about who had your back. You checked your bank account this morning and felt that familiar weight. Now you know what that weight actually is. It is not evidence of your failure. It is evidence that you are human. That you carry inside you the same wiring that kept 1,000 generations alive in a world far harder than this one. The question is not whether you can override 300,000 years of evolution. You cannot. The question is whether you can understand it well enough to stop letting other people use it against you. That is where wealth actually begins.